Howdy folks. My typical carry used to be a Glock 19. It's a great gun. It was the first gun I ever bought. Nice and light because of the polymer frame. Has a double stacked magazine so you can hold 15 rounds. And they're so popular that you can get a lot of accessories to spruce them up a bit. I put some tritium night sights on here and extended mag release to help me out being a lefty. And there's really nothing wrong with the gun. But I started carrying something else recently. And that's this. It's my Kahr T9. Not sure they're making this anymore, but it's a great little gun. Look at that. It looks really nice. It's a stainless steel body. In fact, it's a little heavier than the Glock because the frame is all metal, rather than this being polymer. Right here, you can see it's metal. And then we have the option then of having these POW ferro wood grips put on, which look really smart. My Kahr T9 came with these Novak night sights already installed. And you can see also off the bat, in terms of the slide, Kahr is slightly thinner than that Glock. My hands fit around it a lot better. And that's because it's a single stack magazine. So let's make sure these are safe first and we'll pop those mags. Alright. First of all, let's check these guns. Alright, those look pretty good. Empty. There you are, single stack mag versus double stack mag. I like the metal construction of this. Looks really smart, feels great. Won't hold as many rounds as that, probably half as many. I think this holds around 8 or 9 to the 15 that you'd get in here. And also, to be honest, when I load this thing, it's not as comfortable of a load. The bullets kind of have a bit of a rock to them when you put them in, but it's a small little thing to moan and groan about. Alright, one of the other things I don't like about the gun is the difficulty of taking the Kahr apart to clean. I like how it looks, I like how it feels, but cleaning it, I wish they'd gone as simple as the Glock. Before we do that, let's reset these. With the Glock, when you fire the trigger, you pull, there's a lot of slack, then you hit this wall, or the brake, and there's your snap. And then you reset it, so we release a bit, reset, and you're already at the wall, snap. Nice little action there. The Kahr is a little different. From what I understand is the firing pin is pulled back most of the way, and then the trigger it's a little heavy. It's because it's pulling it back the final stages before releasing. So it's smooth, 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 and suddenly it snaps to release. That means that with the Glock, I know that I have a tendency when I pull the trigger because of the snap, you can have a little bit of rock. This one is just one smooth action, really accurate gun as a result of that. What I don't like is the reset. So if I'm reset, 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 there, heard it? So it resets out this far, and then you fire. That means if you're going to double tap, you're going to pull your trigger, and you have to come out almost pretty much all the way and fire again. With the Glock, of course, if you were to double tap, pull the trigger, you just go back up to the wall and trigger, trigger, trigger. A lot less motion involved. That doesn't take away from the Kahr, though. My very first shot after I got this thing was a bullseye, so I fell in love with it right away. As I said, the cleaning is a pain compared to the Glock. I'll give you an idea. You've seen the Glock video, maybe, where it's easy to take down, spring, barrel, and then you just reset this inside and pop off the door. Kahr is similar, but a lot more involved. We're going to do that right now, in fact. Put the Glock away, and take a look at this Kahr. Alright, first of all, the Kahr has a takedown pin, which is actually part of the slide stop. And you have to move this back until you get these two little notches to match up. Let's see if we can maybe be able to see. You should be able to see them there. At the one on the slide and then one on the frame, and you pull them back to match up. That's when you know you can pop out that takedown pin. And that is I hate to say it, it's an outdated, backwards method, but I guess that's what we got to do. All right. So you pull them back, line them up, push the pin from the other side, and it can pull straight out. Alright, if the slide doesn't come off just yet, pull the trigger, now it can slide right off. One of the neat things you'll notice right away is that your whole barrel lug here is off-centered to the, well, when you look at it this way, to the right. And that's to allow your trigger energy transfer system to ride almost alongside where the barrel lug would be. That means that the barrel can be lower down, closer to your hand for a far accurate, far more comfortable shot. Or so they say. Alright, first thing to do, pop out this recoil spring. So remember, it's under a lot of pressure. There's your recoil spring, your guide rod. Now the guide rod fits in on the recoil spring on the side that's melded together. Let's see if we can see that. Alright, so this side is pretty standard. The part that goes into the slide is the one that's open on one end. Okay, see that's open on one end. Alright, that part was easy. That's your basic field stripping. Now is where it gets a little difficult, and you need a bunch of tools. I like these jeweler screwdrivers. They help out a lot. Also, when you collect guns and gun accessories, you get all these Allen keys. So this Allen wrench is going to come useful. It's one of my smaller ones. You could actually use a paperclip if you don't have one of these things lying around. We just need it to fit down inside of the slide and push out parts. All right, here we go. What we're going to do first, well, let's take out the barrel. Do that first. What I'm going to do first is work on the firing spring in here. That has to be depressed because it's pushing against the back plate, the door. And there's actually a second spring in here, which is for the ejector, and that's pushing against the door too. So we got two springs. We're gonna, I guess you could say, disable this spring by pulling it back and then jamming our takedown pin in there. And it helps if you are an octopus and have like a half a gazillion hands, because this is a crummy job. Alright, so using a jeweler screwdriver, I'm going to pull down on this spring and slide this behind the plunger that goes in there. Alright, that's in. Now the plunger is actually made of plastic, so you want to be careful with that if you don't want to get it marred up. Alright, now we got to work with this half moon hole here. That allows us access to the whole spring assembly, working with the ejector. I'm going to use another jeweler screwdriver for that. I'm going to push down on it and try to slide the door out a tiny bit. And this is under a lot of pressure. This spring there is really strong. Okay, you can see I've got the door slightly cracked open now. I'm actually going to use a jeweler screwdriver yet again to help slide that door off, and I'm going to keep my hand over the whole area to keep springs from flying out. The first time you do this, if you don't know how you're going to be able to control it, do it inside of a garbage bag. I do that whenever I get a new gun, and I'm not sure how the springs are going to work. I've learned from experience it's better to do it inside of a garbage bag. Hopefully you have some white hefty garbage bags, and that way you can make sure you have all the springs when they go flying out. It's better than having to look for them all over the carpet and then maybe accidentally vacuuming them up. Okay, so it's jeweler screwdriver. Going to work this door down a bit. Alright, you can see that the takedown pins come off. The door is almost all the way off. I'm going to push it off the rest of the way. There it is. And you can kind of see this spring really wanted to come out. Alright, so here's the door. Here's the firing spring and the little golf tee plunger that it sits in, or that sits in it. Alright, get this out of the way. Now here we have the pin that's protecting the spring for the ejector. Once that's out, we can now wiggle out the ejector itself. There we go. And I'm going to use this Allen key to fit down the hole where the spring is, and also the push bar that runs against the ejector. You see it right there. Okay, that came out. And now I can push back in the opposite direction. And the spring comes out. Alright. Now here's the firing pin. It's held in place by this little tiny this block. This block's on a spring, so I push down on that and I can pull out straight. Out comes the firing pin. And there's a firing pin protector, I guess, that the spring will ride against or fit onto. And it's a little U-shaped, and you can just slide it right out. Like so. And now that little tiny block that was holding everything in place just lifts straight out. Just lifts straight out if you're lucky. And you don't have oily fingers from cleaning guns all day. There we go. You might not be able to see it. Let's see if we can see it here. There's a spring on the bottom of that. Careful, because that spring can come off. You don't want to lose that. Alright, there it is. This slide is completely disassembled. Clean it, spritz it with some Hoppies, wipe it down with a ton of Q-tips. Same with all the different parts. And then comes the fun of reassembling everything. I'll put that aside for a second because this is important. This was the pin that was pushing against the ejector. And if you can see here, let's see, it is beveled on one side. Alright. So, make sure we can move that over here so we can see things a little better. Beveled on one side. And the way things have to fit together is like this. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, this is the ejector, and this part here is what fits into a chamber in the gun. The bevel rides against this angled side, like that. Then behind that you have your spring, and then your spring pin cover, I guess, which will ride against the back door. This is what we have to get back into the gun in different stages. Alright, so the first part, we're going to put that little bevel in. Here's our slide. The bevel will face into the gun. So we slide that in as best as we can. Helps sometimes to push it along. Use our Allen key for that. Sometimes there's a lip in there, so sometimes you have to just tap it a tiny bit to get it to go over the lip. There we go. Next we're going to put back in the ejector. Once again, this little tiny cylindrical part is what fits inside the little tubular recess back here. There we go. Piece of cake. Now we don't put the spring in just yet. Alright, first I'm going to go ahead and push the that little beveled pin. Oops. Of course. Just want to make sure it's flush against the ejector, so I'm going to do that again really fast. Oh, why can't you be more like a Glock? Alright, there we go. It's in there, it's flush. It's pushing against it in the right direction. Okay. Now I have to drop this little tiny block door in here. And that's because this has a channel on the reverse that this spring fits behind. If the spring goes in first, we won't be able to drop this in. Alright, so straight down it goes. Once again, remember it's spring loaded, that's nice. Drop in the ejector spring and the little pin cover for it. There we go. Now I can put in the firing pin again. First I got to put that little tiny U protector on there. Firing pin can only go in one direction because of this tab sticking out of it. So I drop that in. It'll stop. Push down on that little locking block. And now I can push it in the rest of the way. And I can kind of see how it's held in place by everything. Nice. Alright. Put the firing pin spring in. And now comes the fun part. This is the most difficult part of the whole thing. It's getting the door back on and overcoming these two springs. So I slide the door on a bit. I'm going to try to move this one down. Usually it helps if, let's see, you can use a punch just to hold it down. Hold down the spring. Maybe a bigger punch. Alright, so that's in. Now we got to push down this ejector spring cover. Push the door over the whole thing, snaps together. Cool. Oh, that's not fun. Alright, I'm going to put this guide rod and spring back in. Remember the part with the end sticking out, that fits in. Oops, sorry, got to put the barrel in first. Derp. That fits into the slide itself. Push assembly in. Push the guide rod onto the lip on the barrel. And this is the tough part, is actually getting the whole thing to meet up now, because it is off a little bit. Alright, so that's good. Pull back the slide until we get those notches to match up. Drop in our takedown pin, slide stop, and there we go. Let's try it. Great. Cool. Make sure it resets. Cool. Make sure the magazine lock, well, that's part of the lower part of assembly anyway. That works, but it does. We're good to go. The car is clean, oiled, ready for me to carry. Once again, I like how this car looks. I like how slim it is. Very little profile on you if you're carrying it in an outside holster. I've even carried this with an inside holster, which is much more comfortable than carrying the Glock in one of those. I like this gun. Highly recommend it. It's a whole different firing system compared to the Glock, so you'll have to get used to it, but you might like it better. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have fun taking down and cleaning your cars. Ciao!